Today's guest has worked with some of the biggest brands out there, but built her own agency around making marketing more accessible and efficient. Molly Lopez is the founder and CEO of Sparo, a South Florida-based marketing agency. She's a digital marketing expert with 15 plus years of experience and has worked with brands like Chiquita, Lennar Homes, Sandals Beaches Resorts, Del Monte Fresh, Royal Caribbean, and more, bringing a perspective that bridges big brand strategy with real-world execution for growing businesses. And thank you for joining us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's so fun that we actually met at a social media conference, even though we both live in South Florida.
Yes, randomly at like the same table and like, oh, where are you from? Where are you from?
Yes.
Like, yeah, we're both agency owners. Now I live in Fort Lauderdale, so we're practically neighbors.
Yes.
It's very fun.
Like, welcome. Fort Lauderdale is incredible. I think people forget about it if they don't know South Florida. They're just like, oh, Miami or oh, West Palm.
It's so underrated.
Yes.
It's the best of both worlds. Yeah.
I agree. So let's start about your journey from working with brands to founding your own agency.
Yeah. So part of my story starts when I was the director of client strategy at my previous agency, which is a fairly big, well-known agency here in South Florida. And one of the roles that I took on was screening a lot of the new business calls that would come into the agency. So I got to talk to all of these really cool startup founders and small businesses. And inevitably, once the conversation turned to like, okay, what's your budget? I would say 80 to 90% of the time, these people were like priced out of working with our agency because we were a big agency. We had a lot of overhead. You know, we were working with like very large enterprise clients. Yeah. And so I started to really get the sense that there was a tremendous need in the marketplace for quality digital marketing services that didn't cost an arm and a leg, that were actually accessible to like middle market companies and scaling companies and startups and just kind of brands of all sizes and not just the big, you know, Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies. So that's definitely a key part of my origin story, and something that we've tried to keep as a part of our like mission and vision all along is like taking the same tactics, strategies, experience that myself and my team have working with those enterprise brands that are spending a ton of money, but boiling it down to a way where it works for your, you know, small to medium-sized business.
Yeah, and we'll get into more of that later. It's so funny, though, because I feel like I started my agency almost in a similar fashion of 8.5 years ago. Like, social media was something you can get as a service with a marketing agency, but there wasn't really a lot of like just only social media agencies. And even as we've grown and evolved, I've always stuck with just social media. And if any client or anybody needs like web design or emails or like photography, we have like partners and other people we'll work with, but we really stuck in our mold and it's worked. Because I noticed a lot of these companies at the time, they're like, well, we just need help with, 8.5 years ago, they would say, we just need help with Facebook, or like, we just need someone to manage our Facebook page. And it kind of evolved from there.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think that's a really difficult, like easier thing to say than to do. It's like to be disciplined in that way when you're an agency owner, because these clients, like you said, they end up needing a million things and they probably are coming to you all the time like, oh, Kassie, can you do email? Can you do this? Can you do that? And so I think that, you know, staying true to like, no, this is like what I'm good at. This is like what I do. And then like having those partnerships is a great way to build an agency. You know, there's obviously pros and cons to being full service and then being dedicated to just like one niche or one service offering. But I think having that really strong sense of like who you are and the agency you wanted to create is amazing. I think for on my side of the journey, it's taken me a little bit longer to get there. Like I came from a background where I had done everything. So like I knew how to build a WordPress website. Like I knew how to like build email sequences. I knew how to like pitch media and do PR. And so like as opportunities came up, I would just be like, yes, because I'm this jack of all trades and I can do everything. But we've actually reversed that and kind of like narrowed our focus as the years have gone on, because I've realized what you've realized, like, you know, just having kind of a more singular vision, being like, this is what we're good at, and like really being the experts at that. Yes. Is awesome. And then having those partners that are experts at what they do.
Exactly. And not one person can really do it all, or they can try, but it's hard to do it all, you know, well. And also, or even if you do it well, how fast can you do it? Yeah. So the fact that you have a team as well and that you understand all the assets of it, you know, and that you can speak to your team, because there are a lot of agencies too that some of the owners or founders don't know a little bit about everything, and they're hiring these people, but they can't speak it either. So I think that gave you good experience to manage your team.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think what you're keying on is something that's so important that a lot of clients don't realize, is that like digital marketing can sometimes get lumped into this like one bucket.
Yeah.
And clients have an expectation that like one person or one agency can do all of these different functions, when the reality is that all of these platforms, even just like one social media platform, is so complex and has so many nuances that like to be an expert in everything anymore, it's just not possible.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's like a lot. I feel like a lot of the like education we have to do with our clients is like around that, because I think sometimes even they'll be like, oh, well, we're just going to hire for this position in house, and they want to find one person that's going to like, do their ads, do their social, do their email, update their website. And it's like, no, that person really doesn't exist anymore. Like it's too complicated.
Yeah. Or they might exist in the sense of like they do one thing really well, and then the others kind of, just kind of get thrown to the side.
Exactly.
Because they're focusing on one thing.
Yeah, they can do it, but not to the level that it really should be done.
Exactly. And recently I went on site for a client event, and it's interesting because they have their own in-house marketing team. They're a big company. Yet at this event, there were many agencies there. There was a videography agency, a photography agency. There was myself. There was an event agency. I mean, they had a lot of partners because they know, okay, we can't do it all ourselves, nor do we really want to. We don't want our staff to be stretched too thin that they also can't do their jobs. So let's bring in people for different pieces. And then the whole event was a success because everyone kind of had their own lane.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's the way to go, and that's the way to win.
Exactly.
In today's age, for sure.
So speaking of big brands, I think people can get confused of what makes them successful and what makes it like harder for a small business. What do you think actually makes just a brand successful in general if we're comparing big to small?
Yeah. So I always talk about like the fact that working with small to medium-sized businesses, the biggest difference, right, is that you usually have like less data, like less history. It's usually either a newer company, or if it is an older company, maybe they've always relied on word of mouth or referrals, and now they're trying to grow beyond that. We work with a lot of brands that are at that tipping point where they're like, I've grown, I'm doing, $1 million, $10 million a year. I want to take things to the next level, and I know that I need marketing to get there. That's like an ideal client for us. And with working with those clients, it's great, but they don't have any history of like what's worked and what hasn't worked.
Right.
And even though we work with a lot of the same industries and types of companies over and over again, like every company truly is different, whether it's their geography, the like exact demographics of who they're targeting, their service offering, their price point. So like one thing we don't do is like cookie cutter. Like every client really gets like a customized strategy. And that's a huge challenge with working with versus like a Fortune 100 brand, that you're going to come in and they're going to say, we've done all these things. We have all this historical campaign data. We have these audiences. We have this like advertising, like data, like here's what's worked. Here's what hasn't worked. Like we're super dialed in on who our customer is. This is, they have the like the firepower or like manpower, to like have all that data, have all those resources. So it makes your job coming in a lot easier because you're like, cool, I have all the pieces, I have all the ingredients here in the kitchen. I'm just going to follow this recipe and like
get it done.
Get it done. Exactly. With a small or medium-sized business, a lot of times like a lot of those things are question marks. And so you're really having to figure things out kind of as you build. You're having to do a lot of like trial and error of, okay, like let's try this channel, let's try this tactic. And sometimes I think it can be frustrating both on the side of the agency and the client, because sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to get it right and really unlock like that super successful ad campaign, or like customer acquisition strategy, or like e-commerce ad, like whatever it is. And because you're also working with a smaller budget, these companies can't come at it the same way that a big company would as well, which is like, cool, let's just test everything at once. Like, like let's launch on every channel. We have the budget to do that. Let's invest in like influencer. Let's invest, over here. And so with like smaller companies, we take our job super seriously as their agency and kind of partner for success, because like what we're advising them on, like typically, they're putting most, if not all of their eggs kind of in that one basket. And so if that doesn't work, we can pivot and try new tactics, but it's a timeline, and you can't, like, unless you have the budget, you just can't buy your way out of that. So that's probably like the biggest challenge, or challenges. I guess that was two different points.
You brought up two big things that I want to talk about. So one is, especially I notice this with a lot of our smaller business clients, is they get worried that we'll be stuck in the weeds of strategy and planning, that will like, well, how soon can you get started? So I pretty much tell them, oh no, we're going to start and plan and strategize all at the same time. Like sometimes you have to also walk, run, and crawl all at once just to get it going, because you're right, they can't afford sometimes to, wait and test everything at once. Like you kind of have to do it step by step, bit by bit, but also kind of like just go.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in that. Like, and it's tough sometimes for sure, because, and I'm sure you've experienced this, like we have a client right now that like similar situation. We came in, all of their assets were all over the place, like a mess. They didn't have a style guide. They didn't have a social media strategy, but like they needed posts. Like I was like, how many posts do you have like left planned, like in your runway? And they were like 1 week. And I was like, okay, cool. So a week from now, you need us to start like posting on your behalf. And I think like, it's one of the hardest things to do, is to just like come in and hit the ground running. And so like we're doing that. And then simultaneously behind the scenes, we're like building a style guide and a strategy for them. And it's like, eventually those two things will converge. But I think that like, it is also a great way to build trust with a client. And like those first 30 days are so crucial. And so if they feel like you're coming in and you're just like getting your hands dirty, getting in the weeds and like getting things done, I think that like, helps build a good foundation. Like,
I agree.
With the client. Yeah. I agree. It can be difficult. Like I would rather be like, no, let's take the first like 3 weeks and build your aesthetic out and like, create all these templates and, you know, it'd be easier.
Exactly. And I've white labeled when I first started my business with some bigger agencies. And we've had clients at the time like complain in the sense of like, you guys have been on retainer for 3 weeks and I haven't seen anything. But meanwhile, we know in the background, like assets were getting approved, things were getting all done, but the client just wasn't aware because it's big agency and maybe, like the account manager didn't, relay it. But it's one of those things of like, no, wait, it was a fair like feedback. It's like, no, look, all this stuff is happening, but you're not seeing it. So I agree. When you can kind of show both, you are building that trust. Yeah. Something else I wanted to bring up off your last discussion or topic was kind of being able to tell the client, like setting expectations of this might not work, or, even if you think something's better, but they're pushing you another way, trying to kind of set the expectations of like, this is what I recommend, or this is what we should do. But also, even if we do all of this and it doesn't work, what's the next step?
Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough. And like, I think as much as you tell a client, hey, this is going to take time, this is the realistic timeline, like with Google Ads, for instance, like we're a Google partner agency and we get on, calls once a month-ish with Google like advisors that are there to help us as an agency partner, walk us through the new updates and everything. And like Google will tell you themselves that any new campaign takes anywhere between 5 weeks to like see initial traction, and then 10 to 12 weeks to like really see conversions, to see like the quality type of like leads or purchases or whatever that you're looking for. So that's like a 3-month timeline. And so we tell the clients that, we reiterate it. I think like they hear it, but there's an emotional and psychological component of it too. So it's like you're seeing invoices be paid, you're seeing ad charges go to your credit card, but you're not seeing the results yet. And it takes a lot of trust to be like, okay, I trust that this team is an expert at what they're doing and that like we're making progress and I gotta keep holding on. And like, sometimes it's taken us 6 months to reach a tipping point for a client, but once they do, it's like the revenue that they're making off of those ads is like 6-7x their investment that they put in. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you stuck with it and you didn't quit because now you just signed like a, $800,000 deal or whatever from like these ads. So yeah, it's definitely something that you have to educate, reiterate, and it can be hard. I think it's harder on a small business too, especially like probably for some of your clients, you can relate where for a lot of our clients, we're working directly with the founder and the owner of the company. So it's not just like working, reporting to a marketing director at a big company. It's not out of their budget.
Yeah.
Right. It's like at the end of the day, it's not their money. They're not going to be in that job forever. They care, but they don't it's not their baby.
Exactly.
Whereas like when you're working with the founder of a company, that's their baby. And like they're putting so much trust and investment into you and like, trusting that like you're going to do right by them. And it's hard sometimes when the results aren't immediate because you're like, trust the process.
Yes.
And the clients are like, I'm here, I'm trusting the process, but like this is, it's scary. It's like you kind of have to hold their hand on the roller coaster a little bit.
And it's a lot of education. Like we had a client recently and they had no social media presence. So we were like, okay, we're going to build the social media presence and we're going to run ads. But because they have no social media presence, it's hard to, convert on those ads just because.
Right.
So we had laid out a whole strategy of like awareness, engagement, some guides, then retarget those people to do the next step. So kind of building their funnel out because there was no funnel. And before we even got to the bottom part of the funnel, they were like, we've had enough. We want to cancel. And I'm like, we put this whole strategy together. We only got to point, A to B, not to C yet. I'm like, C is the part where you see all the fun
C's
stuff.
The good stuff. Yeah.
And then when you have the numbers, I'm like, look, your views are up, I think it was like 112%, and your engagement's up like 300%, like something crazy because the branding and the social media was working in that sense.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where they were like, oh, or like, okay, that makes sense when you explain it that way.
Yeah.
Because they just got nervous. But I was like, this is the plan we talked about or we discussed and the strategy. So it is a lot of education. Or even when they think they understand, like you said, they probably want to understand it. Sometimes it gets muddy as you're going through.
Yeah. 100%.
So speaking of budget, how do you define affordable in marketing today? I'm sure a lot of people say, agencies are expensive, or how can I afford these services?
Yeah. So there's, like with anything, right? Like there's a huge spectrum of costs. And like when you talk about like, oh, well, like what's the going rate for X service? It's like, well, that depends. Like you, I recently bought a house. And so I've been doing all these projects on my house. And one thing that like we have been quoting out right now is like getting our windows redone. And like we've had some companies come in and quote us like $15,000, and then the like super high end people that like they're like, these windows are bulletproof, they're titanium, they're like so nice, it's like $40,000-$50,000. Like it's a huge spread of costs for like relatively like the same services. And so like I always like tell people like, you can go on Fiverr and get someone in the Philippines to create your social media content for you, but it might not be great. They're not gonna be on your time zone. They're not going to be the most responsive. Like they're not going to understand the local market. Like, it's going to be cheap, but like, is it going to be good? Like, is that really what you want? And then, of course, right, like you can go like knock on the door of like Zimmerman or like Sapien or something, and they're going to charge you like an arm and a leg for that same service. So what I try to think about with a Sparo is like dollar for dollar, I have a commitment to like our clients to provide like the most value. Like that's kind of how I've had to shift my thinking over the years. Like in the beginning, I really was like, I'm going to make this super affordable. Like I want to be the cheapest option out there. And it was great because I got a ton of clients, but then like maintaining, once I had to grow like beyond myself, like maintaining the quality that I was able to deliver to them, I was like, okay, now I have a team. Now I have like payroll taxes. Now I have like benefits. I have these other overhead things. And like to keep high quality people, I need high quality prices.
Yeah.
So even though like we're not as quote unquote affordable as like, you know, we were when I started the agency, I've tried to maintain a sense of like value. Like, is my team getting paid? Am I making a profit? Cool. Let me not like overcharge for things, and let me make sure that I'm doing things smartly and efficiently internally that are going to deliver value to the client and like not add to overhead that I need to pass on to the client. So I think that's how like our core philosophy has kind of stayed the same, and like how I try to look at it now is like, for what you're paying me, I want to give you like 2 times as much value as like this what you would pay down the road. Like you're gonna get 2 times the amount of energy, dedication, focus, quality, like what like you know could pay me the same as like the guy next to me, but like you're gonna get so much more from me.
Yes. And I think on our end, we try to compare it in the sense of, since we're just doing social media, if you were to hire somebody in-house, what is that going to cost you?
Right, exactly.
You know, if you're hiring someone for that position, what is that going to cost? Okay, well, you're getting a team of people who do things for social media. You're not just getting one person.
Right.
And I think, too, people forget, or they think, like, if I'm paying you X amount a month, I want to make more than I'm paying you. And it's like off the profit of the ads or whatever. And it's like, well, you have to pay that person anyways to do the work. Like the work is work.
Right, exactly.
So it's kind of like also justifying that of like, you're still paying for the organic efforts and
100%.
optimizing. And so it is tough. I think pricing is tough, and everyone is going to say something different for affordable and what's not affordable. But you're right. It's also the quality.
Yeah.
And I think something that I've always said too is people do what we do. There's so many people who do what we do, but there's not people who are like you and I, in the sense of like, I'm going to try to be as responsive as I can, or I'm going to try to really be real with my clients or give them me, because there's not another me. And I feel like that helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, with the Philippines, or even I know people have got their websites done in India, and it's like, they're going to do exactly what you said, but not going to have any feedback, or you're not going to get that like one-on-one with the person of this is how the website should be.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Where should businesses invest versus where they should pull back based in the marketing industry right now?
I love this question. There's no one size fits all answer, right? Like it totally depends on your business, your audience, your budget.
Yeah.
I will say the channels that I'm really excited about right now that I think businesses should be looking at if you're ready to kind of expand beyond the baseline. Like the two, like I think 60 to 70% of all ad dollars in the United States goes to Google and Meta. Like they're the two, 200-pound gorillas in the room. And 9 times out of 10, those are going to be like our foundational go-tos. If you're a company that's doing those things and you're like, what else can I be doing? Things that I would be looking at are connected TV. It's so accessible right now, and it's not much more expensive in terms of cost per impression than Meta or YouTube or like some of these other channels. And the targeting is amazing because we all of our TVs are connected to the same internet that are browsing, our cell phones, everything. So like they know all about you.
Yes, as creepy as it is.
As creepy as it is, right? Like they know all about you. And yeah, just a really cool way for companies that like maybe never thought they could afford traditional commercials,
right?
Like TV commercials.
Yes.
To get in on that. Like it's great.
Yeah. And more people are watching that versus
linear
cable
TV
anyways.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where the market is. That's where the addressable market is for sure. The other thing I'm really excited about is YouTube Shorts. Like it's kind of been this like sneaky thing that's been growing over the past couple of years. Especially, I always say this, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if your audience like skews more male, like that's such a good way to reach them because just statistically, guys spend less time on Instagram and TikTok than women. spend a lot of time on YouTube Shorts.
Yes,
So,
yes.
like if your audience is predominantly like men, like YouTube Shorts is great in terms of kind of a new breakout channel. And TikTok, as always, I mean, I think that there was a lot of uncertainty around TikTok over the past year and a half now. But as we've seen, it's not going anywhere. And so I think that a lot of brands have still like been holding back a little bit on investing into the platform.
Yes.
And so that means the ad inventory is really cheap. So it's a great place to spend money, especially for awareness, or if like you're an e-commerce shop, you have to be on TikTok shop.
Yes.
You have to, like, it's not negotiable. So
True.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the opposite. What should people stop doing immediately?
So I answered this question on another podcast recently, and I'm gonna say the same thing because it's still what I feel is not necessarily stop doing it, but maybe stop doing it the way that you used to do it, which is influencer marketing. So there has been for a long time this kind of impression in the marketplace that like, oh, if I hire an influencer that has 1 million followers to promote my product and it gets 27,000 views, like I'm going to go viral overnight, like I'm going to sell out. And that may have been the case like 10 years ago, you know, like Kim Kardashian posts about like the EOS lip balm and all of a sudden it's like the
Everywhere.
product, right? Like we are so desensitized now to influencers like shelling stuff at us that like working with one influencer one time on one post just is not going to move
I agree.
the needle. So like it's not that influencer marketing is dead, it's just that like you need to think about it differently. So things that like we're recommending to our clients in the influencer space is doing more long-term integrated partnerships where there's a product collab, or there's like a month or 2 or 3 month long partnership where that influencer is like posting about a product repeatedly, where to the point where it starts to become believable, where you're like, oh, they actually believe in this product. Like they weren't just
They
like,
really use it. Yeah.
they really use it. Yeah. Like I see it as part of their like everyday life. Or working with like micro creators, like UGC creators that like maybe only have a couple thousand followers, but once you have that content, leveraging it in your ads campaigns, leveraging it on organic social, and kind of, you know, taking it and using your own channels to amplify it and get that reach.
And people trust the micro influencers a little more than they trust these macro, because they feel like, oh, they really know their audience, or oh, they're so niche, or they're doing it because they love it.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. We're big on that too. So I love that you said that. We had an episode just about influencer marketing.
Oh, nice.
And then one of the big like parts of it was we said sometimes the best influencer marketing strategy is not having one. And it's like shifting more to that UGC, or shifting more to, it's like thinking of it differently.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of clients, like you said, they do think of like the most amount of followers, let's go. So it's just shifting their thoughts a bit.
Yeah.
So we close out every episode with 2 questions. So Molly, you're up. What's your favorite current social media platform and why? And this could be personal, business, both.
So on a personal standpoint, I am a daily Pinterest user.
Like, I love that.
I feel like I'm the only person that's still on Pinterest. Like I remember when it came out when we were in college. It was like 2008, 2009 probably, when it started to get popular. And like I've never quit. Like I love it. And it, like it is for me what Instagram kind of used to feel like, where it's just like it's
inspo.
Right. It's like low stimulus. It's like no noise. It's just beautiful pictures, inspiration, like different things. So that's what I do for usually like 10 minutes before I go to bed, is I'll just scroll.
I love that.
Pinterest. And it's very soothing. Whereas I feel like TikTok, Instagram, like get me very like agitated and like revved up.
So that is jarring.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm like seeing all this stuff that's like political or whatever. Or just like this, that, like it's a lot. So I like Pinterest. That's like my peaceful place. And definitely if I had to delete like all the other social media apps off of my phone, Pinterest would be the one that I would keep.
I love that. I feel like I haven't used it a lot lately, and I used to love it. So I feel like I should circle back, especially with doing like home reno and decor. I feel like I get a lot of inspo there.
Yeah. I'm like planning everything on it right now.
I love that. And what's one current social media trend that you wish would disappear?
Oh my gosh.
There's always so many.
I know. Wow. This is a great question.
Threw you on the spot there.
This is going to be so niche, but this is like the first thing that popped into my head.
Let's hear it.
So there are these companies out there that are like based in China that are selling products that are using like these really scammy fake ads that prey on people's emotions to sell their products.
I've seen these.
I'm sure that you've seen these.
Yes.
It'll be like a picture of an old man at a sewing machine.
Yes.
And the voiceover is like, my grandfather was sad because no one was buying his Disney themed blankets or whatever. And then they hold up the blanket and it's obviously made in a factory in China. But it's just like, I don't even know if it's AI or if they like paid some actor. It's like this old man like holding up the blanket and they're like, he's gonna have to shut down his shop if you don't like buy from this. And then I'm like, how are people falling for this? This is so fake. But then you go to the comments and so many people are like, just bought one, like, keep going. And I'm like,
no, it's bad. It's gotten really bad.
Unethical. I'm like, you're like literally using like this like fake sob story to guilt people into buying these products that are literally coming like from Temu.
Well, it's our old school marketing, like education, where it's like you have to use like fear, emotion, to get people to buy.
It's highly effective. It's highly effective, but it's extremely unethical.
There's a crazy one I saw. I have to link it to this episode so people can see it. But it was like this lady was like, I make lobster purses. I kid you not. And like she's like AI video, but she's showing that like her heart and soul, and nobody's buying the lobster purses.
I saw a version of this, and it was literally like they turned it into like a race thing. Like,
I didn't see that one.
It was this black woman, and she was like, because I'm a black woman, no one is buying these purses.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yes, I was like, this has gone too far. Like that.
So I saw a creator was like basically like duetting these videos and be like, this is AI, let me show you the AI parts. And they were like kind of just like debunking them. And he was like, stop buying a lobster purse.
That man is a hero. We need more influencers debunking these people.
People were commenting.
It's such a scam.
Yes, people were commenting like, I bought a lobster purse already, or like I bought 3. And I'm like,
oh my God, I know. Yeah, it's like,
and I wonder what they look like in person. They definitely won't look like what they're.
No, I'm sure they're awful, but yeah.
No, so I agree. And I think, it was interesting because I had a class in my master's program all about like the dark side of social media and having to know that anybody can post anything and there's really no credibility anymore. There's really no like even journalists who are, journalists now, like people can be anyone can be a journalist. Anyone can report anything on social media. So it's learning to have discernment. And I think the fact that people are falling for these things, people have to start to educate themselves on AI and be cautious when they're on social media.
Yeah. I definitely, you can cut this out if you want, because I could go on a whole other tirade of it.
I love it.
Like there's so much lack of regulation on social media marketing specifically. I was thinking about this the other day. So we're working with like a ton of UGC creators right now for one of our clients. And like, for some of them, I'm like going through their portfolios of like past work that they've done. And there's like this like one creator who is clearly like 23, 24 years old. And she's talking about like, oh, like my teenage daughters, blah, 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 in this one UGC sample. And I'm like, there's no, she's obviously playing the character.
Yeah, or reading a script.
Right, or like reading a script, because in real life, like you're obviously not a mom,
Yes.
And so, but we believe it if we see that ad in our timeline, and like.
Or it's clickbaity in the sense of like, wow, she looks young.
Right, exactly. Like what? Yeah, exactly. Like, or it's like even like part of the hook. And I think like those ads specifically should have to say like, not like a paid actor or, impersonation or something like that, because right now there's really no regulation around that. And like, it's for better or for worse. I think, these tech companies control a lot of the policies that are made because they're so big and they're just like, these mega entities. And so whatever's favorable for them goes. But a lot of times, it's like the dark side of social media. Like it can hurt people. And like,
well, on a positive note, Have you seen the Charles Schwab ads all over TikTok?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so they're everywhere, and now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm sure we're all gonna get one.
Yeah, right.
But I will give them kudos because on all of their ads and all of their videos, they have a lengthy, not cute text box on every single
Yeah.
video about this is an ad, blah blah blah. You know, for investments, we are this big. I mean, it's definitely not cute.
Yeah.
It's definitely an eyesore, but you know they have to do it because they're a regulated
financial.
industry.
Exactly. For regulated industries, they're above and beyond, but like for like a health supplement or like,
More people can learn from them.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
So Molly, this was such a great reminder that you don't need a big budget to think like a big brand, and you can strategize and also just be real on social media, and you just need better priorities. So where can listeners find Sparo and connect with you?
You can go to sparomarketing.com, which is SPARO.
Yes.
Marketing.com. Same handle on social media, Sparo Marketing, or you can follow me. I'm Molly Catherine Lopez, I think on like all the platforms. So,
And I'll link everything in the show notes. Thank you again.
thank you so much, Kassie.